So start now.
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, the hiccups.
Alright, welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday. If you're joining us, that was just me just playing around. Maybe someday I'll sing, maybe I won't. We'll see. We'll see. But anyway, welcome. And today, if you clicked on this, you probably saw something called Stewardship with the subtitle. What's the subtitle? Subtulita?
Shorthand, what are you going to do with the blessing God gave you?
What are you going to do with the blessing that God gave you? Okay, great. So, we will be spending time talking about stewardship. What it is, what it means, how to understand it from a biblical perspective. Because I think if we can understand not only the origin of things, but the purpose of things, then we can potentially live more fruitful lives as we walk through this world. And when I think of it, when I start to think of things like, okay, where does it come from? If I can acknowledge that it doesn't come from me, every good and perfect gift comes from above. If I can acknowledge that, then it's easier.
Hey, go lay down.
Oh, that's a dog.
Go lay down.
It's easier to not be so tight-fisted about it. It's easier to not
Finn,
hold it as a treasure.
lay down.
So,
Lay down.
what do you? So Finn, what do you think of when you think of the word steward? No, talk. That'd be crazy. Aaron, what do you think of when you hear the word stewardship? What? No, Finn was over here, so I asked him. What do you think?
Okay, stewardship. Taking care of what you've been given responsibility for.
Okay. Take care. Okay, that's good. That's good. And if somebody were to come up to you and ask you the question of what are you the steward, a steward, what would be the first thing that kind of comes to mind?
Well, my own life, for one.
Ooh, life. Wow, okay, that's good. It's a tough thing. See, I wouldn't have thought of that. I mean, it makes sense, but...
Which is why you're not doing this thing by yourself.
Oh, right. Good point.
Yeah.
All right, so,
So your life would be first.
So the life would be first. The life
you've been given and how you're going to respond to that. How
Right.
you're going to treat, and how you're going to treat others, that are sharing this life/world with us.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. So I'll turn the topic to Bible verses, because I don't, so the number one thing I would have thought of, I think.
Go lay down.
I mean, it's similar.
Good boy.
But I think I would have, for me.
Good boy.
I would have. I guess I would have said, for me, time, which is kind of the same thing, a little bit, but not exactly. So I think of time because it's in short supply, much like life. It's got there's a finite amount of it, and so what you do with it, let's say you only have so much time to spend with your childhood hero. See, you got a lunch with Michael
Not
Jordan.
that question.
What are you gonna ask? What are you gonna ask? What are you gonna ask? You know.
Or what person would you? Is that Brittany?
That is Brittany.
Hi, Brittany.
Hi,
Or
Brittany.
what person would you? Or what person would you want to have? Don't ask me that question.
Right. The question, what would you go back? I mean, there's a lot of things that come to mind when you think about stewardship and stewarding time. And I guess for me, hey, sorry.
It didn't notify. It's all good. You're fine.
We be here.
All right. So.
And it was actually Aaron playing the guitar up front for the first few minutes, and so, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so Stuart, you were saying time.
Yeah, so time, right?
I said ourselves, but then you said something about Bible verses, and so the first
right.
time I think they mention us being stewards,
Okay.
humanity, is God telling Adam, the man.
Yeah.
That's what Adam means, is the man.
Right.
Actually, it means blood, but yeah.
Well,
Dom is blood, but anyway, the man is to look after the world, to name all the animals and look after them, and I think that's the first.
So
That's
we're
probably
talking,
the first mention.
Genesis chapter 3, I think.
I think.
No, before that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you went too far.
I did.
We's in the beginning.
Yeah, so we're at Genesis 1:26, and rolling forward from there. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image and our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground." So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them. God blessed them and said to them, and here's the marching orders: "Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves along the ground." And then God said, "I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food." And it
see,
was so.
Here, something I noticed. This says a living soul. This translation.
You say for beasts?
It says, "And to every wild animal in which there is a living soul." Not just the breath of life, but living soul.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Anyway, but yes, and that is how it was. He saw everything that he made, but it goes on.
So
it goes on, and it talks about, like, for example, the farmers had to let the land rest every seventh year, and every
right,
and then again every 50th year, in order to allow the land and the animals to recoup.
But that's part of that. That's part of being a good ruler and a good steward.
Right.
Is that you don't just take.
Yeah,
you don't just and that's one of the reasons I've heard over time. I'm not a farmer guy, but that the oranges, for example, of today are much less flavorful than they were way back when, or even if you were to do a crop rotation, a proper crop rotation. So if you were to divide your land into 7 pieces and then only plant on 6 and rotate throughout.
But also, when you're planting on those 6, you're planting different things in different
right.
seasons.
Yeah.
The rotation.
Right. But because because of the need, everybody I gotta have the big orange, the big. So it grows fast, and it gets the soil gets
Tired.
drained of its nutrients, and so it's not as healthy for you. It's mainly just water and fiber.
Well, and that's one thing. It seems like an odd thing to bring up, on an odd topic, but when we were down in Mexico on that cruise, we went to.
Never been to Mexico. Did you put that on the globe?
Oh, that I have been? No.
Oh, you
I gotta update it.
Okay.
Anyway, that we went to a tequila making, through a whole thing about making tequila and where it comes from and all that. And one of the things that they talked about was that the commercial tequila that we get here, Patron and Jose and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's all made from the blue agave plant, but which is a relation to the pineapple. If you were to look at it, it just looks like like a giant crown of the pineapple. Is basically what it looks like.
Right.
Cross between that and aloe. Anyway, the part that you want though is actually the root. You don't want it's not even that little. It's huge. But in order for the plant to fully mature, it takes between 7 and 10 years.
Oh wow.
So
people don't want to wait that long.
No, and they don't. So what happens is, and then you have to get good stuff. Then you have to, after you've harvested it and you've done all the stuff, then you're supposed to age it. That's why you pay more for that stuff that's been allowed to sit. But so Jose and Patron and all those other people, when they're making their tequila, they're only using plants that are 2 to 5 years old. So the plant hasn't matured enough. That's why they have to add other chemicals and such, and it's so much harsher to drink versus the stuff that comes to maturity. So it's sort of that same way in that allowing things to actually
to grow
the way they're supposed to,
and to reap in due season.
Exactly.
In due season, not in your season.
In due season,
in the
exactly.
Right time.
Exactly, like the figs on the plant that grew out of season.
But I do want to just stop here momentarily and note that I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I gotta have a steak because that's how we were created." But that's not actually true. It's not actually true because what it says here is that I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. So our initial diet was actually,
vegan.
Yeah. But you keep talking. I'm going to go blow my nose.
Okay.
And stuffy.
But anyway, eventually we were given the ability, permission to eat meat.
But that wasn't the beginning. Right?
But that also, just like initially there was no rain. But we had to change and the earth had to change in order to.
Yeah, there was a mist, right?
Yeah, there was a mist that came up every night.
And so that's kind of cool. But then we see when Noah is on the scene, then we see the first rain.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, the very first time it rained.
Yeah.
It was Noah.
Which is a crazy,
which is why they thought he was all nuts.
Yes. But that's not about stewardship.
Well, actually, it is.
Why is it about stewardship?
Because he had to take so many of certain animals on board to repopulate.
Okay.
And if you actually read, it wasn't animals 2 by 2 of each kind.
Right. It was 7 of every.
It was 7 of the kosher and 2 of the others. That's right.
That's right.
So because we were
why?
eating them, or we were going to be.
We were going to eat them.
Eventually, we hadn't started to eat. I don't know that we'd started eating them yet, but whatever. But the point is that even the provision and the stewardship was provided for us at the ark. Brittany says something.
She did.
I didn't know that was the first time it rained. Yep. Like I said, that's part of the reason they thought Noah was nuts.
Yeah. It's like,
rain, water from the
Water's
sky.
gonna come from the sky.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Crazy old man.
Lay down, baby.
Yeah.
Go back and lay.
Crazy old Claire.
Yes, I love
Crazy
you too.
old Maurice. Right.
Yes, that too. So, but yeah, anyway, but there you see the stewardship and the provision even there that where, he was told to take so many animals,
Right.
more of certain kinds than others.
Right.
So,
All right.
there's
good.
stewardship.
So there is stewardship, but I think the
Lay down.
so as we
Lay
continue
down.
on the lesson on stewardship,
Boy.
as we break into the next.
Go lay down.
I love your Disney references. Yeah.
Lay down. Lay down.
Thank you for that.
Down.
Oh,
Down.
good boy.
Good boy.
Good boy. All right. So at the outset, we talked about stewardship, and I guess I'll go to the idea of borrowing someone's car or borrowing somebody's fancy dress or purse or pair of shoes for that special occasion. And
Go.
then the question is,
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Go lay down.
what is
Stewardship.
what is stewardship? So stewardship, Aaron had a great definition up front. What was your definition?
No.
Patrick Stewart? No, it wasn't Patrick Stewart.
No.
Go ahead.
Give me a second. I will tell you.
She's going to tell you. It's basically taking care of something.
Yes.
Taking care of something that's given to you.
According to the Oxford language,
Oh, what does it say?
the job of supervising or taking care of something, such as an organization or property.
Mm-hmm.
Responsible stewardship of our public lands.
So is the
Okay, it is an ethic that embodies the responsible planning and management of resources. The concepts of stewardship can be applied to environment, nature, economics, health, property, and that comes from Wikipedia. I like that one better.
okay. So let me ask you this question.
An ethic that embodies the responsible planning and management of resources.
Okay. So with that one, it just says resources in general. So, I mean, love to hear this weigh in. Do you think that stewardship implies that it doesn't belong to you or that it's on loan to you? Is there that?
I don't think it
implication?
matters.
Okay.
Think about it.
Right.
One of the things that we talked about with the kids is, or insisted, like if they were to bust their iPad, that they would have to pay for it.
Sure.
Okay? So when you have to pay for stuff, you
Yeah.
take better care of it.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Or you tend to. But at the same time, if you really love your friend
Yeah.
who let you borrow their car,
Yeah.
you're going to take care of it.
Right.
So,
I have not always been good at
so anyway, I guess it depends on the type of person you are.
that. Right.
I mean, if you're the selfish one, then yeah, if it definitely, if it belongs to you, you're going to take better care of it.
Okay.
But think about, seeing all these jokers walking around with white tennis shoes that are constantly wiping them off because,
Sure.
so they got dirty.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
shoes, dude.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, think about it. There's clothes that, it says don't dry. We could dry them,
Right.
but
Right.
if you don't dry them, they last longer.
It's true. That's true.
That particular kind, or whatever. So I think that stewardship, it doesn't matter whether it's yours or not yours, but I think I get where you're going in
Right.
that it doesn't, by itself, it doesn't seem to be, especially when you're talking about natural resources,
Right.
they don't belong to you. They belong
Right.
to everybody.
They belong to everybody, and
Right.
if we go back to the Genesis example,
They're actually alone.
they're actually on loan from God. Genesis 1:29. Then God said, "I give you every seed-bearing plant." So the original ownership and authorship rests with the Almighty and not with you. And so if something that was perfectly created by God seems like, okay, that gives me some kind of incentive to say, I got to take care of it, right? And the more we can acknowledge the things that we have, or the things that over which we are stewards, don't really belong to us, whether it's children, money, time, all these things, then I think that there is potentially that motivation to do the best you can with those resources. Because it was like, well, I can make time and I can make more of it. Okay, well then, does it really matter as much from a care standpoint?
And I think that has happened within our culture as a whole.
Yeah.
Going to the microwave society of,
sure.
Even to the point of jumping in and out of marriage.
Yeah. Disposable.
Yeah. It's all disposable. But yet we don't, we were talking about the whole recycle part.
Sure.
Why don't we recycle more to be, so that we don't have to do, but yet we're just too much of a throwaway disposable system. I want it now, and
right.
I broke it and I want a new one. And
yeah. On the recycling point and the stewardship of the land and the earth, to me it's a great point, because if I look at the earth as one, okay, so the Bible says the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. And oh, by the way, this earth that I have, when I pass on to another plane, I'm giving it to somebody else. And so do I want to, am I the kind of person that wants to just use it all up? Die with $0 in my bank account, and like, yes, I won, because, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I left just enough money for them to bury me in a burlap sack. And that's it. Net zero. Remember that? Net zero, free internet forever. Yeah. I don't know, I think you still get an email account with them. But anyway, if you realize that you're passing that along, you're passing this earth along, and so I love the sentiment that people have when they're like, what are you leaving for your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren? And I think that's all part of stewardship, and whether we're talking about generational wealth, whether we're talking about just the earth, talking about maybe a piece of land, maybe, I don't know, nice jewelry, maybe it's a work ethic. I don't know. What are you leaving? What are you passing on? Thoughts there. You had thoughts. I saw thoughts. No. Okay. Got a commentary.
Does God give us instruction on how to be good stewards?
Yes. Fantastic question. They are many and varied as we look throughout the Bible. The first one that comes to my mind, I know it's much later in the Bible, but in the parable of the talents. Mm-hmm. Let's go there to the parable of the talents, which we can find in the whole Bible. Talents, there are 29. Wow, all the way from Exodus. Nice. But the parable of the talents is...
Yeah, because the Exodus talents have to do with the building of the tabernacle.
Huh. Cool. Well, it said whole Bible, but it's not saying whole Bible. Let's just go New Testament. Really? I must be using the wrong version. Where's the parable of the talents?
I got it. Parable of the talents. Parable of the talents comes from.
Drum roll.
Where did it go?
You lost it, see?
No, I have what it is, but I don't have the. Okay, hold on.
It's Matthew. Go somewhere around 11. Go.
Matthew 25,
Oh, man.
14.
It's way off. I knew it was Matthew. But Matthew 25 and 14. Okay. Oh, it uses wealth. And gold. So the parable of the bags of wow. Oh, the bags of gold. I don't like that one. All right. Anyway, so starting with Matthew 25 and 14. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one, he gave 5 bags of gold, and another 2 bags, and another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I've gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Your version might say, enter into the joy of the Lord. The man who had 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I've gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gathered where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So that's Matthew 25, 14 through 30. Apologize for my sniffles. It's allergy season. I don't think it's COVID. But anyway, you can't get it because So anyway, so what do we learn from what are God's instructions based on this in terms of stewardship? I think it goes back to the very beginning in Genesis where he says what? Be fruitful and multiply. Right? So he entrusts us with something and he expects that we're going to get to work, that we're going to do his work and have productive lives. What does that look like? I don't know. And that's why I like the version that says talents, because it's a double entendre.
Yes, a talent originally means a year, 100 years worth of wages.
Right.
That was the physical definition.
Right. So
But
it's a weight and measure, but it can also be
a talent.
So what is your gift? You don't actually have to have
So
talent of
I'm
gold.
glad you went there, because Brittany asked the question about, does this only apply to money and property? And it does not. It does not. However,
But
money is one of the second most mentioned thing. I think it is the second most mentioned thing in the Bible.
yeah.
Okay? And the reason it is because for where your treasure is, there your heart will also be. Okay, so too often we equate money to our servitude of God, or
Okay.
our desire to follow
Sure.
God's will.
Ooh, that's a good one. Keep going.
Because those two things are so often made congruent or parallel, however you want to put it, it's often looked at. But no, it is not just that, because biblical stewardship is about with using the possessions that God entrusts us with appropriately. Whether that is, so in other words, a steward manages something for the benefit of someone else. We are tasked with managing money, possessions, times, talents, resources, all of those things. So no, it's not just property and money. It is everything, because none of it actually belongs to us.
That's right.
We're in this world, not of this world, for one. Our true home is in heaven, where we have no need for any of these things. So, therefore, none of them belong to us. None of it.
True.
So it's everything.
Yeah.
Money and property is the most easy, tangible things
Yeah,
for
I was gonna
us
say
as
tangible.
humans to equate or to
comprehend, really.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Comprehend.
because if you go and put your money in the stock market, you can watch it grow or shrink. You can. I mean, but if you look at something like time, I think that's also, it is measurable what you do with time, how you steward time. But you have to be a little more intentional about it, I think.
That brought to mind, there was a movie with Justin Timberlake.
Oh yeah, Out of Time.
Is that what it was called, Out of Time?
I think
And
it was
that
Out of Time.
everything ran, it wasn't money anymore, it was literally time.
Yeah,
You got paid by getting time on your life clock.
that's right.
So try that one on.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. But, I mean, you go to work and you might say, I didn't get anything done today, or I didn't get anything that I wanted done today. Or maybe literally, you didn't get anything done today, right? So you can actually look back at that day and see, okay, how did I redeem that time? How did I steward that time?
The time that I was given.
The time that I was given. That's right. And, with children, I think it's like, you look eventually, and you get glimpses every once in a while, like, oh, they got good grades, they got accepted to a college, okay, so doing something right. But eventually, it's going to be, I think, further down the road where it's like, okay, they are leading a responsible, productive life on their own, don't have to be under the thumb of, a schoolmaster, if you will, in order to make their way in the world. And so then you can...
And that's something that, it was funny that Dr. Phil, and I'm not saying that he's the be all end all, or that I spend a ton of time. I don't spend a ton of time watching him either.
Wow.
I used to, but not so much anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the things that Dr. Phil had said many years ago that didn't really catch on, that should have, was that we're not raising children.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be raising productive adults.
Sure.
Productive, responsible adults.
Right.
That just happen to be children at the moment.
Right.
But that our job is to, in the end, like you said, at the end of it,
Right.
if we've done our job correctly, that we have raised responsible, productive adults
Right.
that don't need.
Yeah. Yeah. But so I do want to kind of capstone part of like the initial part of the conversation, and that is the I think the foundation of stewardship is understanding where the stuff comes from. So we talked about the parable of the talents, but one very direct verse toward the end of Job 41, where he's getting where he's learning the final lesson that he's supposed to be learning in this story. Is Job 41:11. God is speaking to Job, and he says, "Everything under heaven belongs to me." It's actually 41:11b, the B clause of it. Everything under heaven belongs to me. And so if we take that as the foundation, if we look at Genesis as the foundation, I think so this one references Genesis 2:15. The Lord took the man and put him to work in the Garden of Eden to work and take care of it. So,
Well, even if you go earlier in Job, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away.
Yes. And so that's a good one, but that's a tough one too, right?
But you to go back with your Genesis, they were talking about the first part of the institution of tithing.
Yeah.
And giving of. So, and how Cain and Abel, one was the farmer, one was the shepherd, and but taking care of. But that's another, we say steward, but we also talk about shepherds, taking care of their flock.
Sure.
and whatnot.
That's true.
And being a good shepherd means, being there to take care of, and so that's almost synonymous. Steward and being a good steward or being a good shepherd are very, very similar,
Right.
in their definitions, at least in this connotation. But yeah, I think Job already had that, because this whole thing wasn't supposed to be about Job anyway. It was supposed to be about the devil.
Well, I mean, that's how it, yeah. Yeah. I'm looking for that one verse, but
The Lord?
in Job. Okay, here we go. It's Job 1 and 20. So this is the first series of calamities that we see in Job when he loses all of his family. At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb." Okay, so we started as state of 0.
And naked I will return.
Naked I will depart, naked will I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. Or King James say, "Blessed be the name of the Lord." Verse 22 vindicates Job. It says, "In all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing." So he's correct. In that statement, the Lord gives and the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. So that's really kind of that state of 0, and understanding that stewardship begins with understanding where everything comes from. If once we can understand where everything comes from, then again, it's easier to understand a couple of things. One of those things is it's not ours, so we need to take care of it. 2 is it's not ours, so we shouldn't be so tight-fisted about it. We can give. We should give liberally. We should, shepherd the weak, take care of widows and orphans and all of those things. And I start to see a string, not a string, but quite a few billionaires that have started saying, I'm going to give most of this money away. Yeah, I made a bunch of money, but I'm going to give it away.
So you just said that you struggle with tithing. Why do you struggle with tithing?
Yes. Say more about that.
It's going to take a minute.
Yeah. Yes, I want to hear this because it's an important question. It's an important thing to kind of examine. And I will say you're not the only one.
I feel like it's hard to make room in my budget. I don't feel poor, but I do live paycheck to paycheck, and it's just hard.
Okay. All right. So what do you think? What do you think about that?
So, what I've heard from others in that particular situation is that even though it's hard, that's when they've been blessed. So technically, tithing means 10%. That's and just so you're aware, in the days of the temple, the tithe, be it monetary or harvest or whatnot, literally and actually fed the priests and their families, because they had no portion of the land. Their job was entirely to take care of the temple / tabernacle, and be there to receive the offerings of the others. That was their entire job. They had no other job to do. They did not have land to work or land to raise animals, so they entirely depended upon the food and drink and the money offerings of the people. And for a long time, that's also, and still to this day, is normally what pays your minister.
Right.
And takes care of the church.
Yeah.
Now, in today's society, it is almost always monetary.
Yeah.
Just because even though we're still an agrarian type society, we've moved beyond that as a central means of transferring stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let me throw something out there.
But
go ahead.
But if you honestly can't do 10%, just do something. I have no moral obligation. It's just after my bills, I don't have a lot of money left over. I get it. Can you do $10? Can you forgo a Starbucks coffee or a dinner out, and make sure that at least $10 goes to wherever, to the chapel, to the Salvation Army, to wherever, If you can start with that, then you're on the right track. Because remember what Messiah said, that the woman who gave 2 pennies had more blessing than the man who gave a lot more, because that's all she could give. She gave what she could give. I usually try to give what I have on me at the time.
Okay.
That's a good way to do it. However, if you try to make sure that you always have that $10 or that $20, you know.
I think one of the epistles talking about, being intentional in your giving.
Right.
I'm going to commit. But let me throw something.
Being that committed, yes.
That's right. Yeah. There's a lot of aspects to that. One of them is, I could see a situation where people were like, oh, well, I saw so-and-so gave a little bit more, so I'm going to try to outdo them. So, and then you run yourself, into debt unintentionally, but also be intentional is like, yes, I will give this much. But here's another thought, and that is service. Service costs, and can fulfill a need. So we found out that the church was spending X amount of dollars on a contractor to clean the church, and they would clean the church.
And they didn't do such a great job.
They didn't do such a good job, but then I heard the cost of it. It's like, oh man, that's however many $100 just to clean the church. It wasn't a whole lot of work, but you could say, if there is a service that you could do for the church, a service that you can do for the community, I mean, there is a monetary value to that.
Your time is worth money.
That's right. And so maybe that's the way that you tithe, because, so let's say it's a small or a medium-sized church that's hiring a contractor, like, you know what, I could cut the grass, or I can clean up, or whatever it is that would otherwise cost them the church money. Well, guess what? You just put money, you translated your time into money for the church, right? So that's another way to look at it. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, why not, spend, if you got time on a Saturday or something, spend a couple hours cleaning up and, bringing, I guess in this case it would be keeping the tithes in the storehouse, because the church doesn't have to pay whatever they would have paid for that.
But I do still, I agree with that, and I don't belittle that at all. But at the same time, if you can commit,
that's true,
to even $5, $10, every week, or even once a month, if that's all you can do,
right?
But you commit to that.
Yeah,
it's in this, you're doing both a sacrifice and an obedience.
Yeah.
So we've never been in the position of month to month. However, we have always tithed. So in our almost 20 years of marriage, we have...
What? Wow. It's a long time.
Yes. And I still haven't broken you of the habit of closing stuff.
Oh, cool.
Or not closing stuff, I should say. It's a very difficult habit. So, but to make that commitment, it's sort of like there are some people who join a gym because if they pay for it, then they'll actually use it, whereas when it's free, they won't go. So it's that same kind of idea. When it's your iPad, you're going to put the case on it and you're going to be more protective of it. So it's that same kind of idea, that same kind of commitment level, that ownership of it. So nobody's going to fault you. I'm not going to frown on you. Nobody's going to frown on you if you give $1, if you give $10, if you give $100. That's not the point. The point is that you've made a commitment between you and God that you're going to do this, and if what you feel is fair is to do some time and then give a little cash, then that's fair. I also haven't found a church home either, but I'm hoping when I'm older I'll be able to dedicate and commit my time. You know what? Especially when we were overseas, that was difficult. So we, even though it wasn't, we were all in the same boat. The chapel was not home, but it was home for now. So, do that. Do that.
Yeah.
And agree. You know what? And on top of it, that the chaplain and his family is going to eat, whether you give your dollar or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's definitely going to eat, and that money does go to good uses.
Right. And,
in Texas, it went to special need groups. Every quarter, it went to different special need groups around the community, the local community.
Mm-hmm.
So it does still do good, and you can still give of your time. I mean, we did Awana, we ran children's church. There's lots of things. Or when I don't have 3 little people who depend on me all the time. You know what? I do know, because I have 3 little people. And you know what? When they were little like that, we spent a lot of time in children's church. And that's where we spend our time. Now, I'm not saying to do that all the time, because you have to get fed as well. But that is one place that you can give of your time and be of great help. So, think about it.
Yeah.
Do one week a month at the chapel in children's church, in the children's ministry, and give $1 a week.
Sure.
Whatever it is. I'm just giving $1 a week, or $10 a week, whatever it is. Hey, we even tell Caitlin to do it too. So
and she's
our
chosen
16-year-old daughter.
Charity.
She works 3 days a week for a couple hours at a piece, and we told her one of the things she has to do is save some and tithe some.
Yeah.
And then she can spend some. But, as to a point. But she has to save some and she has to tithe some. So, or give, But, again, stewardship, there are people out there that don't have. And if you can give $1, or you can give $2, or you can give $200 to help, another good thing of service, Goodwill, or the mission stores.
Yeah.
When your kids outgrow their clothes and they're still in good condition, or their toys, give to the Goodwill, give to the missions. That's amazing. We're great parents. We try. Let's just go with that. We try.
All you do is try to plant the seed in them, and they eventually are going to do what they do.
Hopefully they will not, if we put them on train them up as they should go, they will not depart. Oh no, they're going to depart. At least a little bit. Hopefully they find their way back. That's the point.
That's true. Yeah, very true, very true. Yeah, so we...
By the time we're at an hour.
Okay. So, what we talked about there was really stewardship, I would say, of 2 things. Was time and resources. Mm-hmm. So what are you doing with your time? How much are you working? How much are you incorporating God into your life? Whether that's through some form of benevolence, just going out and helping with a soup kitchen or something like that.
By the way, your kids are gonna see that too.
Yeah, go help at a soup kitchen. Bring them along.
Depending on how young they are.
Yeah. One of the, I would say, it's a very memorable church that I went to in Texas. I would preach there from time to time, but it was the City Mission? City Mission, was that the name of it? Mission Point. Mission Point was the name of it. Yeah, and so this was a place that went and they would drive. This was literally the place that would drive the bus around the city and pick up homeless people and bring them to church.
And did you take the kids there one time?
They liked it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would go over there and they would help out in the children's church, and and all that, and at some point they'd be like, "Are we going back? Can we go back?" Right? That kind of thing. So, but if you could get involved even with a ministry like that, and I would say, try to be intentional about your focus. What is it that you want to get out of a church, right? Because, I would, as we talk about stewarding time, you definitely want to be a good steward of the limited time that you have with God, right? Because if you go to a church and you get nothing out of it, if you're just sitting there and it's just, okay, I'm there one day a week and I listen to a sermon for an hour, hear three songs in a sermon, and then I'm out, and that's all I'm,
an apple a day.
That's all the church that I do. But what if you converted that and said, you know what, I'm going to spend 3 hours on a Sunday. I'm going to find one of these places that does homeless ministry, and I'm just going to help out there. I'm going to
or abused victims.
Yeah.
There was a place there in Texas that was a shelter for abuse victims.
Yeah. Recovery. There was the.
So there's lots of stuff to do, and even to the point that you could find places that do like wounded warrior stuff, or special needs kids, or anything. It's that you're giving of your time and yourself. And you definitely, I wouldn't say church hop, but you need to find a place. And if that means that you need to visit a few different ones over a few different weeks, one of the things that we kind of made it very clear is, and we're, is that we come to serve. And even on the first or second week we were there, we were moving chairs. And the pastor's like, wait, what? Hold up. Didn't you just get here? So that's another thing. Make that intention clear to leadership so that they can also be good stewards and use you when and where they can.
That is true. And I'm not saying to go to church expecting this, but it is quite possible that you could go to church, start serving, and get into a fellowship of some sort, and next thing you know, somebody's like, "Hey, I got a side hustle you might be interested in if you need to make some more money or whatever," and maybe it's these
you
kinds
don't know
of things,
what you're going to find.
You just don't know.
You just don't know what you're going to find. Yeah. All it is you decided to help move tables one day.
That's right.
It's just that simple.
Yeah,
You never know what's going to come.
Yeah, when we did the Thanksgiving thing, after a couple of times going over there, like, "Hey, would you like to be on the board of directors for a nonprofit?" I was not expecting that at all, but they're like, "Yeah, we like your brand of service and we trust you."
We keep getting included in leadership meetings, and we don't actually have any kind of true leadership role. We're not the head of the greeters, or we're not head of the children's ministry. We're just in all of them.
Yeah, we just help out where we can. Just serve. Just serve where serving is.
And I know we do this, but we didn't start this. This was started by Pastor, and then he included Michael, and then he couldn't do it because of circumstances, and then we've just kind of continued it. So, but this is not, I lead the Friday service, but that's not it's not like a true, I'm leading it and we're doing this, but it's not like this is our ministry, right, or we're responsible for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but yet we get included because, and that also, that happened in Australia.
Yeah.
Almost immediately we were asked to be deacons within 18 months.
Sure. Yeah.
Of the one, and elders, we were elders from practically day one,
right,
at the Messianic one. So it's your heart. If it's in your heart to serve, if it's in your heart to give, whatever that may be, it will be recognized and it will be a good gift back.
And speaking of, and 100% agree. And so back to the example of the parable of the talents. What is the response when the master comes back? He's said, "You've been faithful over a few things. You've been faithful over moving chairs. So I'll make you the head usher, because and it gives you something to do." But also, when we talk about being good stewards over children, which is one of the top, you look at the top 3 to 5 resources that God entrusts you with. If you can find a good church with a good children's program for your children to be involved in, that normalizes church and worship for them.
Service.
And service.
She just said that I think the fact that you squeeze these things in as parents is what I struggle with. I feel so busy in my daily routine. I think it's probably my habits, but with kids it's just hard. Girl, I hear you. I want nothing more than to sit there with my iPad and play a game and watch some TV and veg. And you know what? There are days I do it. And that's perfectly okay. But there's other times where, we're running from one place to another and we're doing. It is intentional. It's your habits. It's intentional. And I am by far not the perfect one. He's the one that gets up and does the workout. And I'm like, nope, ain't happening. I ain't getting up.
Not me.
I ain't doing it. So, I'm too tired. So, I get it. And none of us is perfect. I really, there's a reason the elliptical is on my side of the bed in the house. Because I'm supposed to be using it. And I have to look at it all the time. Do you think I use it? Not like I should. So, we all have our negatives. We do. You're not alone in that. But it's up to you to try to make a difference. If you want to make a change, then make a change. If you feel the need, it's all about intentions. And you can do them. You can do them. It's just going to take work and it's going to take time. You can do it. And oh, by the way, it does take both of us to do this. So,
True.
And there are days when it doesn't always.
Yeah.
It's still, things still slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
So, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you're just going to have to give yourself some grace about not getting some stuff done.
What are you talking about?
You sometimes are really bad about that.
Oh, what?
About not doing things a certain way or getting certain things done.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. But hey, we're toward the end of our time, sort of. Unless you had more questions or whatnot. But I do have to get up for. We shifted lead lab to tomorrow because of the rain this morning. So.
Oh, that's right. And when's the dining out? Is that that's not next week? That's in April.
April,
okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to take Caitlin to school because her bus isn't running tomorrow. At all.
She could walk. No.
No, she can't
All
walk.
right,
it's 7+ miles.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's good. That's a good.
If it was 2, she could walk it.
All right.
But it's not.
All right. Fine.
And there's definitely not enough sidewalks. But anyway, so yes, we you were very welcome, Brittany. Glad to see you. Glad that you joined us again. Let's see.
Sure.
What else? What was going on that we need to? Anything?
I mean, the extravaganza at the church is coming up. That's on the.
Yeah, there's friends and family.
Friends and family.
That's the 3rd.
Is it? Wow.
Is it the 3rd or the 12th?
I don't actually know.
I don't know.
I have to look it up. So we got friends and family coming up at the church. We have the Passover Seder which will be on the
15th.
on tax day on the 15th. So you can dial in for that.
Stop partnering that thing with tax day. People are going to think it's always tax day. It's not.
No, it's not always tax day. Just yeah. So if you want to dial in for it, although this one I would say, well, you see people eating a lot of good food, so you may want to bring a
plate.
Bring a plate if you're joining
for
online.
Passover. Yeah. So we have friends and
tell
family.
you what to bring. So
we have friends and family. We have the Easter thing. So if you're in town, we got stuff going on.
Yes.
The ladies bruncheon is on the 3rd, and then we got the friends and families on the 3rd.
Should be the 4th then, right?
Or the 2nd.
If the brunch is on the Saturday,
The brunch is on the 2nd. The friends and families on the 3rd.
Cool.
That's right. Oh wait. No, it's not. It's got to be the 10th because the ministry fair is going to be on the 3rd, I think.
Okay, well, we'll get those dates out.
We got lots
if
of
you're
stuff.
going to be in town, you come on out because if you're our guest, then we could win a set of steak knives.
It's not a set of steak knives, and Jeff's already got 12 confirmed.
No, he's making that up. I think he's making it up, but maybe he does. I don't know.
If he's telling the truth and he's got 12, we ain't topping this.
All right, that's fine.
Unless we can count internet watchers. Can we count internet watchers for friends and family?
Yes.
If we do, I'm going to make everybody log on.
Yes,
Anyway,
please do.
Anyway, next Wednesday we'll be back. Same bat channel, same bat time. Pow.
Anyway.
That's so funny. All right.
Have a great week. And if you need anything, reach out. If you
Let
have
us
any
know.
more ideas for things that you'd like for us to talk about, and I really enjoyed talking about the war thing. So if you got more ideas that you would like to talk about, discuss, please let us know. And we will totally
Stop it.
we will totally discuss those, and it'll be great. But anyway, you take care, and we're out.